All right, so 80 Days, I did not enjoy. It had a lot of reading, which makes sense because it is a storytelling game, but it was very confusing. Not only reading the words, but also what to do within the game. There were many points in the game where I wasn't sure what to do next. I was stuck on screens and wasn't sure what I had to push. I felt like there were buttons on the screen that weren't necessary. It all was visually great, but confusing to know exactly what to do. If you've never played a storytelling game before, I don't think 80 Days would be the best way to go. When it came to choosing which option you wanted to go with, it was hard to tell what were options and what weren't. I think if instead of having this lightly colored change in text, I don't think that was enough to let me know, yeah, you can click on this and continue your story. I feel as if it should have been something much bolder, something that would have let me know, yes, click this, click one of these. If there were bullet points or arrows or something to let me know what my choices were, I think would have been a lot better when it comes to games, because, and especially a word game, because if my choices from what I can choose are not extremely different from what's already said, I'm not going to know what to do. And I think that's something that 80 Days failed to communicate to me. I only made it to day 17 because I got really bored with the game. And it just wasn't as fun to me as I thought it would be. Playing a game where you're traveling around the world seems like it'll be very fun. You'll get to meet new people and, experience the culture of where you're going, but only experiencing them through words didn't give me the fun aspect to the game that I wanted. When we met new people, instead of showing me a picture of their face or something about them, instead of just the words and maybe a small description of what they look like, wasn't enough to grasp my attention. When you go to explore where you are, maybe the background changes a little bit. It'll show you the silhouette of a building, but it won't show you much more to the culture and much more to where you're visiting. And that's when it became a lot less interesting for me, because I wanted to see that. I wanted to experience the journey. I wanted to experience what was going on, not through words. I think that storytelling games, because you're not really interacting, you're not pushing buttons, you're not doing a lot of gameplay type activities, you're really reading, visuals are really important. And a picture or two, even if they were real time images, like actual, stock images of where these places are, would have been beneficial so that you can more feel like you were in this magic circle, in this environment, in this gameplay. I felt very disconnected from the game the entire time. One other reason I felt disconnected was the voice itself. I'm not I'm not a big history person. I know cultures from around the world, so a lot of the vocabulary that was used within the game threw me off. I didn't understand half the things that were going on. My character, zero clue who he was, what his title was. If I wanted to feel more connected to my character, I was going to have to Google his actual title and figure out exactly who he was. He seemed like an assistant, a servant to this other guy. And it wasn't enough to keep me playing. 80 Days needs the narrative. It needs a story to make sense. If the game was solely pick points on this sphere and get back to where you started in X amount of time, it wouldn't be as enjoyable as creating a story with your own choices, meeting people, bartering, making decisions, trying to keep your character in good health. A game like Braid or Mario does not necessarily need a story. Like I said in my Braid blog, I would have enjoyed Braid without the story, without the damsel, without the romantic situation that was going on. The game could have worked without the story if it was just solve these puzzles as they get harder, solve these worlds, complete the puzzle. That could have been the story for Braid. Complete the puzzle, make the rooms complete, like it didn't need this woman and this love situation that it had. So also in the text, Solon and Zimmerman talk about free movement within a game. There's a paragraph within the text that reads, "Play involves human participation. It is an endlessly rich and complex locus for study within a single game. There are innumerable ways to delineate play." I don't think 80 Days is this game that can be played an innumerable amount of ways. I think mathematically there is X amount of ways this game can be played, and that's it. There's no different kind of way that you can win, I guess. If you want to stay in one place for the entire 80 days, you can do that. That's choice number one. If you want to try to get there the fastest, that's choice number two. Like it had a set amount. It was finite. And especially with only 3 to 4 choices that you can make in the story. But then I want to disagree with myself because there were so many different elements within the game. You had your character's mood, you had the where you were gonna go, you had which city you were gonna go to next, how long you were gonna stay in that city, how you were going to travel in that city, whether or not you wanted to sell or buy something. Like, there were so many different elements within the game. And I think that's why I felt like it wasn't as, this bigger gameplay, because I felt like keeping him happy, selling and buying things, I felt like those things didn't make the game for me. The game was about getting around the world, and maybe if I continued playing longer, these things would make sense. Maybe I'd run out of money and then I'd have to figure out, I'd have to sell things, or I'd just have to give up. But I don't, 80 Days has me conflicted in my feelings, and I just didn't like it. I didn't. That's all I really have to say about it. Yeah. As a game, if we want to do like a score system, I give it a 2. It just wasn't great. Shouts out to anyone who finished it, but I did not enjoy it. at all. I didn't enjoy it so much. I really don't know what to say about. Like, and there was a point where there was a child that wasn't a human. Like, this game went to places like, if you're gonna be realistic, and then don't add some alien child. Oh gosh, I didn't like 80 Days. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Yeah.